Hey, Arman here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Hey, and welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills and appreciate you joining us for another NSP Nutrition Show. Thanks so much for doing so. Today is a pretty interesting show because there's always a time where I've wanted something sweet or something salty, or sometimes you have one, you want the other, whatever. We're going to talk about Arman's go-to food when he wants something sweet and satisfying. So we're going to be talking about that today. Also, we've got some really great feedback in our fan question segment. We'll be going over that as well. But let's get started. So, Arman, your go-to food when you want something sweet and satisfying, that sounds, sounds good. So it's pretty interesting too. Where did this come from? Is this, those cravings that you get something, you want something sweet or something like that? Is that where this is coming from?
Well, yeah, I mean, you do get that. That's going to happen with everybody. But also, my clients are constantly asking me, what to eat, since they're always looking for something to fill up on, besides the protein and fat. So, and this is just one of many things that I use,
Right.
but it's a nice one, I think. And typically, when I recommend it, they're like, oh, okay, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, we'll see what everybody else thinks.
All right. So what is this mysterious food that you're talking about?
Okay. So what I like to do to get filled up in something kind of sweet, on a more regular basis, that's why we're bringing this up, because I do it fairly regularly, is I like to have mixed nuts and dark chocolate. And I just find that combination is really good, from my
Mm-hmm.
personal experience.
So when you say mixed nuts, what kind of nuts are you talking about? Just so that the audience is clear that they're not eating like the wrong one, because there's a lot. Wait, let me back up. There's not such a wrong one. It's just your
Yeah.
go-to mixed nut group. How's that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of variety, which is fine. And all nuts are actually pretty good for you. And like I always mention it, peanuts, even though they're called nuts, are not nuts; they're a root. So I don't recommend those because they're high on omega-6 and omega-9 oils, and they can cause inflammation, especially if
Okay.
you eat them a lot. So that's why I'm not a big fan of peanut butter or eating peanuts with protein, as they put it, high in protein, which is so misleading. It's really, I mean, it's brutal because it's lower than soy protein. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, so um, for me, you can do any combination. It just depends on, if you're going to buy something prepackaged or not, or you're going to make your own. But we're talking about almonds, cashews, pecans, walnuts, Brazil nuts, hazelnuts, uh, pistachios, which are really good, macadamia nuts, pine nuts. I mean, and there's probably a few more, but just those are most common that you can purchase pretty easily. So any combination of those, I like.
Absolutely. I'm a Brazil nut fan, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's one
Yeah.
I actually like. But Armin, I know a lot of times in my life I've heard, oh, well, don't eat too many of those because they're very fattening, right? So I'm sure a lot of people
Right.
think about that, but let's talk about what the benefits are of eating these mixed nuts. Why don't you go over
Okay.
that?
Well, we'll just have more we can talk about on that specifically, but in general, it's a combination of healthy fats, protein, you got fiber, vitamins, and minerals, which it's a good source of minerals, and then you have antioxidants with it, and so it really helps, in the mix of your diet. And then, like I mentioned before, they help fill you up because you got the fiber, and then when you mix it with dark chocolate, it's kind of like eating a Reese's cup, in my opinion. So that's more natural and lower in carbs. So yeah, that's some of the quick benefits. Is again, you've got all the different spectrum of foods for your gut microbiome included with it, and then you have that fiber. So you don't absorb as much. And that's another thing that's debatable, is how much you actually absorb because of the high fiber content.
Hmm.
But they tend to mark that kind of safely. But there you go. I mean, it does fill you up, and will help with your regularity too, I think, from my experience. So
A- absolutely. So, a lot of people look at statistics when it comes to this stuff.
oh yeah.
So exactly what kind of stats, like protein, fats, carbs, let's see, fiber,
Yeah.
sugar, total calories. I mean, what
Okay.
kind of stats can you offer with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Everybody's always kind of curious. Of course, you can read the package and kind of go by that. That again, that's a guideline. That doesn't mean it's super accurate, but it is a
Accurate,
guideline.
right?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but the the product I like to eat pretty easily because it's prepackaged is called Second Nature mixed
Okay.
nuts with dark chocolate. So that one is a combination of almonds, roasted pecans, cashews, and then you have the dark chocolate chunks which are put into that.
Hmm.
So for that particular, you know, brand and packaging, 1/4 cup serving, which it's not a lot, but that's going to give you 4 grams of protein. Again, nut protein isn't super high, but it is what it is. You get 12 grams of fat, and then you have 11 grams of carbs, and 7 of those carbs are going to come from sugars. Okay, but it's typically from the dark chocolate, and then you have 2 grams of fiber. So your net total carb for a 1/4 cup is 9 grams of carb. So it's not over the top. It's not super
Hmm.
high. And then you got quality fat. So it's a pretty balanced strategy as far as I'm concerned. So with that being said, the total calories for that serving, it would be around 160 calories.
Hmm.
Um, but that's for all the calorie counters out there that think that that's going to be really important to put into play. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that does sound pretty good. I mean, how often do you eat these, Armin?
Well, like I kind of briefly mentioned, I enjoy eating them mostly for lunch, and so the reason I like them for lunch is it helps to fill me up because I have a factor 75 meal a lot of times, and or if I have some meat and some vegetables, I don't eat a ton of meat during the lunch. I don't overdo it on lunch, so that's where this kind of comes into play, just to help fill me up. So I'll
Gotcha.
typically find myself having nuts 3 to 5 times a week for me. Now, again, I'm lean, so it doesn't seem to, even though they're high in calories, as the experts like to say, it seems to work well for me. And again, I eat, and we'll talk more about it, but I eat them last, so I don't start off with that. Okay, I just
Hmm.
finish up with it. So I just think it's another easier way to get some additional fiber in your diet and to kind of finish up like a dessert, so to speak. In my opinion, I mean, not everybody may feel that way about having mixed nuts and dark chocolate, but
Right.
that's
Right.
that's why I kind of call it something that fills me up, and then it has a little bit of sweetness to it, and you kind of look forward to it if especially if you've been stressed out all morning and the afternoon, early afternoon, just trying to get stuff done. It's kind of something that you can look forward to, from my perspective.
Absolutely. And, I like just about all of them. I do actually like the Brazil nuts a lot. And I also like
Yeah.
pistachios. But, do you have a personal preference, for certain nuts, Armin?
Well, I'm good with all of them. I like the Brazil nuts. Now, one thing about Brazil nuts, you can't eat it. You don't want to get too many of them because they are very high in selenium,
Hmm.
which is good. That's good for testosterone. But everything kind of, now the good news is Brazil nuts are really high in fiber and they do fill you up pretty quickly. But there seems to be a lot of caution, and I'm not sure why, from the experts about not having too many of them because of the high selenium content. But that is what it is. So,
Right. Right.
I've tried different combinations of mixed nuts, and they all go well just by themselves.
Hmm.
So, so you can, I used to do, like, what I would like to do is buy the deluxe mixed nuts, and those will come in several different combinations as well. You'll have typically 4 to 5, sometimes 6 different types of nuts into those with the deluxe mixed nuts, and depends on where you're getting it from. So, I like that. So um, the thing, like I mentioned before, is when you're eating these different combinations, your experts say they're very high in calories. So if you're somebody that is tracking calories or feel like that's an important element to your what you're doing nutritionally, then you want to keep that in mind and look at the serving size. But again, these things are all kind of gauges. They're not dead set. They're not 100% accurate, but they're gauges.
Right, right.
So at the end of the day, they're going to fill you up pretty quickly. So, and if you're eating them at the end of your meal, then you're only going to eat so much of it, because when you have the protein eating first, by the time you get to this, what I find is you fill up pretty quickly, and so that you don't tend to overeat them, in my opinion. So now, if you're somebody that really, really likes them, well, then you may need to be a little more cautious with the intake. If you also notice that you're starting to put on a little more body fat. So, and I think these things are all kind of things that you have to do with anything you're doing with nutrition. If you're eating too much of something, what's happening to you when you're doing that, and how's it affecting your body? But again, they do fill you up quickly, so I think it kind of balances out automatically. So, and that's why I like to put them at the end of the meal as a nice little treat. So that's kind of my thinking on it. So,
well, there's definitely, I believe, a lot of false information out there, like macadamia and nuts. Like, oh, those you can only eat a couple because those are so horrible for you. And there's a lot of false information out there. But why don't we talk
that's a good
about
point. So let me just touch on that.
Sure,
So the reason macadamia nuts get thrown under the bus is they're high in saturated fat, and all these saturated fat people that think it's toxic to you, well, that's why you're getting that response. And this whole fat thing, I don't know if it's ever going to go away, but everybody thinks it's poisonous, it's bad for you, it's all this, and at the end of the day, it's naturally occurring. So
right.
How can you take a naturally occurring food? It's different than a processed food, because saturated fat also fills you up quicker. And then you also have fiber with the nut. So, that argument can go a long ways back and forth, and end up, again, splitting hairs on what the reality of, if you're going to eat them. So anyways.
Well, I agree with you. I think a lot of the misinformation out there is to steer you away from the foods that are good for you, so you'll eat processed food. But hey, that's just me. But anyway, let's get back to the nuts, as we say. I guess, because there's so much false information out there, why don't we talk about what the benefits really are with mixed nuts?
Yeah, I want to go a little more detail. So really, I mean, again, you have healthy fats, okay? And that healthy fat things, again, that's you have mono and fats, and then saturated fats, but most of them are mono. But people think, oh, that's so much better for you, but it has that, okay? Whether it's a big deal or not. Then you have the protein, you got the dietary fiber, but then you get a lot of good vitamins from it. You get vitamin E, which it's a fat. That's a fat soluble vitamin, and the nuts have fats in it, so it's going to help that absorb. And it has some B vitamins, so that's always good. And then you're going to get the quality minerals you get, like we talked about before. And you have magnesium, potassium, and then the selenium, especially from the Brazil nuts. So it's a good way to get some minerals in your system. So that's a nice feature. And then you also have antioxidants that come with it. So you're going to get a lot of overall nutritional support from it, from that standpoint. And there's good debate about, okay, is it good for your heart? Well, yeah, the experts seem to like almonds and walnuts and then pistachios. So they feel like that can help improve. And then they go on to say, because it's a monosaturated and polyunsaturated, that's so much better for you. Okay, which again, I think it's a neutral position for me, but they feel like it can help reduce your LDL cholesterol levels, which if it does, okay, great. But at the same time, I think that's something that you're kind of splitting hairs on. And then it does give you some. They have some arginine in them. With that amino acid is good for your blood vessels and help to relax. Them. So it's another thing that you get in your system that you would have to supplement with as well. So that's a nice feature. And then, like I talked about before, they're very satiating, so they help fill you up. And again, you got the different properties that are going to do that. And then, so that kind of offsets, you're wanting to eat a whole bunch of them and then get all loaded up on all these excess calories. But, everybody's got an opinion on this stuff. Blood sugar control. Again, this is another way to, um, help control insulin resistance. So, some of the things that they feel like almonds, pistachios, and then the cashews, even though they have some carbs, have been shown that have a really good impact on blood sugar levels. It helps to control it. So that's a plus. That's why I like it too. And then with it can kind of give some support in regulating blood sugar because it's not going to cause diabetes to jump up because of the way it is, and it's protein and fats mostly. So they feel like, well, if that can help with improving your chances of not getting type 2 diabetes. I think again, that's if you're eating a lot of processed food or too many carbs, that's a total issue by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go on to talk about the brain health because you do have some omega-3s. Now the omega-3s aren't super high, so a lot of people tend to overstate that, but there does have some omega-3 in it, especially with the almonds. Then the antioxidants, the vitamin E, which these can help with cognitive function. So that's what can have a nice effect for the brain. That's also why I like to eat these during the afternoon because if I'm feeling a little fatigued, mentally, I've kind of noticed it does perk me up. Now again, that depends on the person. So, and then they do feel like it helped with some neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. I don't know. I mean, Alzheimer's is I think that's a lifetime of having the wrong nutrition as well.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've learned, but there's that's probably an open debate there. And then they can help with the inflammation. Anytime you can reduce inflammation, that's good. And the reason it does that is because the antioxidants help offset the free radicals that you're getting from, stress, nutrition, the other foods that you're eating that, are going to have that, and just day-to-day activity from oxidation. So anytime you can neutralize the free radicals, you're going to neutralize inflammation. That's a big win. So that can help you with, heart disease, diabetes, the things that, are going to occur along with, certain types of cancer, that these are all spurred from too much inflammation in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, they have a really good effect with your digestion because, again, you had that fiber, okay, which is going to help with promoting regular bowel movements, which is another thing I like. And then, that helps put the bulk in the stool, so it's going to come out the way it needs to. So you're less likely to have to be dealing with constipation. If you have too much cheese or something, that does create constipation. Well, this can help minimize constipation
Mm-hmm.
by the fiber content that's in it. So that's the other thing I like too, is just to kind of keep that colon flowing clean. So, anyways.
Well, definitely a lot of healthy benefits for eating mixed nuts. I mean, you just went through a bunch of them.
Yeah,
So that
that's why I
that
like them.
pretty
Yeah.
much swats away any of the disclaimers that I've heard. And like I said, unfortunately, you hear a lot of them. Let's get into the dark chocolate. I mean,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people like sugar, like sweets,
Yeah.
like candy, right? But dark chocolate is one of the few things that it's just good for you, right?
Well, that's what they're seeing based on what's really in it. So,
Mm-hmm.
when it's, of course, they want you to consume it in moderation. Like, that's what you should do. A lot of things, but
Right, right,
if it has a high cocoa content, which is basically they feel like 70% or more, it does offer some really good benefits. So that's the one thing you gotta understand is checking the dark chocolate that you're eating and seeing how true to dark chocolate it is, because you always have
right,
modifications because people are trying to sweeten it to make it more desirable, because sometimes it can be a little flat tasting, but most of the time
right.
I find it works well, especially when you're eating nuts. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it's another high antioxidant rich food source. And so, and you have these flavonoids and these polyphenols in it. And so these compounds really help protect the body against the free radicals we talked about, because these antioxidants give themselves up to neutralize the free radical. They give them an atom, and then it dissipates through your system and clears out your system. So that's good. So it helps with oxidative stress, okay, which can, over time can damage cells. And you get oxidative stress no matter what you're doing. So anything that can help keep that under control, that's a plus. And then it's, I mean, they do feel like it's helped in different areas as far as inflammation overall. So that's always going to improve your health.
Mm-hmm.
Now, heart health things that they kind of commented on is, you know, the flavonoids of dark chocolate can improve the blood flow. So that's a good feature. Anytime you improve in blood flow, that's good. So that can help with the blood pressure. And when you improve blood flow, it does help with the getting, it can be effective on the LDL cholesterol levels, and then decrease the risk of the cardiovascular disease by having that component. So for the heart health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then for mood, it does have the mood enhancement because they really affect the what's it called, your endorphins. So
Mm-hmm.
it has a mild effect on the endorphins, and so which is the feel good chemicals. So you're really having those, and so it does make you feel pretty good, which is really a nice feature to it, because of the compounds. It's phenyl. It's the acronym is PEA, and I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce it. It's phenylethylamine. Kind of butchered that, but that is really good to help give you that. It gives you the feel good pleasure type of feeling. So that way, when you're having a tough day at work and you have some of this, what I've noticed, it does kind of level things out, and you're back at it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily doing a complete workout, but at the same time, it does help you. And then cognitive wise, some of the research with these different flavonoids that are in it is basically they think it really affects, again, these are going to be mild amounts, but your memory is going to help improve your memory, which can help with problem solving, along with they may feel it helps brain flow, blood flow in the brain. So that's always going to be a plus. So, because then you're got your thinking processes and everything are going to be really normal. So, and then the other thing is they do feel it has an effect on stress. I don't know about that so much, but I guess if it's going to improve your mood, then it can. So, but it's been associated with that to help with stress levels. So, and again, it's the flavonols that come with it. And there's the magnesium, which magnesium is also something you need all the time because your body uses that
Mm-hmm.
for almost everything. So that helps relax the blood vessels, and then improves the mood and helps with the stress hormones, most likely cortisol. And then they also feel like, which is, I was kind of surprised to learn this, but your skin health, it has a little bit of effect on that. So it can protect against skin damage, which again, that's caused by free radicals, but also UV radiation, too much sun. So I was pretty surprised by that. It's like, okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And some studies have showed that it may improve the skin hydration, which is always a good thing, and then help with the thickness and elasticity. So I think that probably is from the amino acids and the proteins, which would help with what do you call it? I'm trying to think of what anyways, there's another condition it would help improve on, but I can't remember off the top. But they feel like that is a plus. So the
Mm-hmm.
only thing you got to do though, when you're buying dark chocolate, is you got to read the label and see how quality it is. Okay, so that's the biggest thing because you're going to see how much sugar is added to the dark chocolate.
Absolutely.
They do that so that it's more flavorful. So that's your big challenge there. So anyways,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you.
oh,
Well,
the thing I was going to mention was collagen. The amino acids, it
collagen.
could give you
Yeah.
some collagen effect, but that's kind of debatable still. So
Right. Well, a lot of positives with mixed nuts and dark chocolate. I mean, a lot more than I could have ever thought of or dreamed of. But, as we wrap up the show, Armin, any final thoughts on the topic today?
yeah, I would just say, do different combinations, find the ones you like. You can just do mixed nuts by themselves, or you can add the dark chocolate in. You can kind of sprinkle it in a little bit. So I think that you'll find it will help fill you up, and then it could be a nice little treat for you, but also have good stats to it to have. I mean, having a Reese's cup is really enjoyable
Right.
because I enjoy them myself, but there's a lot of carb and sugar in it, and it's peanuts. So this is a more premium type of eating strategy, I guess is one way to put it. So, but one other thing is make sure the nuts are quality. So you don't want to don't want to buy cheap nuts.
That's
as they
right.
say.
That's right.
So you got to kind of, look at different brands that are quality brands. So you start doing discount brands, they may not be maintaining the factories as well that they're processing them in, that kind
Hmm.
of thing. So that'd be the only other thing that that's what I look. I look for, high quality made products.
Yeah, I think my go-to snack right now is two hard-boiled eggs with some mixed nuts, and then I pick out the dark chocolate, and I
Yeah,
have
okay.
that like after.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Right there. That's
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
that'll work too.
So,
There's nothing wrong with
yeah,
doing that. You can
yeah,
have the nuts and then finish it up with the dark chocolate. I mean, there's just a lot of
yeah.
ways you can do it. So,
Good stuff. Well, for anybody has told you McNuts are bad, you just heard a bunch of reasons on why they're good.
yeah,
And you
I mean, they
can
are.
get that little sweet craving out of the way, having some quality dark chocolate. So,
Yeah.
Armin, a lot of great information. Thanks.
But, well, no problem. Hopefully, some people got to take away and then give them a little extra to look forward to with their nutrition strategy.
Absolutely. All right, stand by for a quick word from NSP Nutrition. Armin and I will be right back.
Hey, and welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills, and thank you again for joining us for the show. Before we get started, I know you just heard a quick word from NSP Nutrition, but this month is Outdoor Recreational Month. Didn't know if you knew that. If you go to
Okay.
nspnutrition.com, you get 25% off selected outdoor and energy supplements and tank tops. So check that out. Man, they always seem to have a great deal running, Armin. It's kind of weird, you
Well,
know?
there you go. So it is what it
Absolutely.
is.
Well, everybody check that out. Let's get into our fan question comment section. You know, we get a lot of comments, emails, that kind of thing, in regards to content for the show. And we implemented this because, if you go on YouTube or you'll see a list of comments and questions over all the episodes, and a lot of content we get from that. We do get emails or actually direct messaging and things like that from
Yeah.
the folks that watch the show, and we appreciate this very much. But we actually had somebody go kind of above and beyond, and we want to acknowledge him on this episode of the show. His name is Vinster on YouTube.
Okay.
And Armin, I know you've already commented and replied back to him, but I
Yeah.
thought it would be good to acknowledge Vinster because, first of all, he sent a very lengthy comment and he had some questions. So I thought, I know you answered him, but let's kind of go the extra mile since he did
Yeah.
to respond to Vinster. So first, Vinster, thank you.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome comment, and even the owners of NSP acknowledged it and saw the content and the comments. So it was a big deal. So that should make you feel good that your comment was actually recognized like that. Good stuff. So anyway, the comments are on the last video, or actually on one of the videos, that it was an awesome info field video. He's thanking us for our hard work. But his question was, do you recommend, and I'm actually going to open this up so I can read it a little bit better here. Okay. Armin, do you recommend, is it safe to use raw eggs in a protein shake? And if so, what type would you recommend? Organic, farm fresh, store bought? So what do you think about that, Armin? Everybody's seen the Rocky movie, right? Right? Cracking a bunch of eggs and drinking them down. But what's the real benefit? And is this something that you should put in your protein shake?
Well, it's something, it has a lot of purposes if you're going to use it for nutrition. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for something quick, that's what it's helpful for. Now, on the topic of what kind of eggs, I've done it with free range, I've done it with organic, and I've done it with farm fresh. So, all those they're going to work and they're fine. The only thing I will say is this is what I do. I mean, you got two ways of doing it. You could put the egg in water and see if it floats or if it sinks. And if it floats, probably not a good egg. So you
Right.
wouldn't want to go that route. So that's one way to check to see. That way you can avoid getting a bad egg in the mix. It doesn't happen very often, but
Right.
it does happen from time to time, and I've had it happen to me.
Hmm.
So what I do, so that you don't, I just start cracking the eggs open first and put them in a bowl, or you can put them in a blender, and making sure that they're all good. And then I put the heavy cream in and the protein powder and whatever else I'm going to put in there, and then blend it up. So that way I know, okay, these eggs are fresh, they're fine.
Gotcha.
And then when you blend it up, I mean, you can't even taste the eggs in it. I mean, it just blends
Right.
so well with the half and half with the cream that you're good to go. The beauty of it is it fills you up really well. So, and
Yes.
if you need something quick and something that's going to last you, depending on what kind of work you're doing and stuff, it's a great fit. If you're doing a lot of outdoor construction work, it's pretty laborious. This would be a good option for you. Obviously, you can eat a regular meal too, but this is very nutrient dense, and that's the beauty of it.
Hmm. Well, a lot of good information. He also commented, which I appreciate. He said, Frank, you know, he is a well done steak eater. He always
Oh
has
yeah,
been.
yeah,
And I remember that show that we were talking about that kind of stuff. He said, but Frank, due to your suggestion, I'm going to slowly progress down to rare steak and see how I handle it.
yeah,
Again, we're doing a great job. And I remember doing that show. I used to be a medium guy, right?
yeah.
And then one time I got a steak at a restaurant and it was rare. And they were busy and I said, you know what? I'm just going to try it. And it was more flavorful and far better than my medium. So now
Yeah.
everything I have is rare.
Well, that's
So
how I do it. I do the same thing. I mean, people look at me like that. I got three eyeballs when I eat something rare like that. But at the same
yeah,
time, a lot of other uh, cultures will eat rare meat. I mean, the Japanese do it too. They eat raw
yeah,
fish, but they also eat their beef leans, or not overly cooked. You just
right.
get better nutrient breakdown by not overcooking it, and you're going to get less free radicals and things like that from the overcooking the meat. So that's another good thing too.
I think the flavor is much
Yeah,
more
I agree.
enhanced with rare meat. It's just crazy.
Well, it's not dry, dry meat. I
Right,
hate dry meat. I hate chicken
right.
breast, man. It's stuff can be so dry. It's like chewing leather. It's like,
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I think once you go rare, you won't go back for sure. So anyway,
Okay.
Finster, thank you so much for all the kind
Yeah.
words and comments and feedback. We definitely appreciate it. And you know what? If you want to comment, offer suggestions, or anything like that for this show, please feel free to do what Vinster did. Comment on YouTube. You can,
Yeah.
actually scan the QR code, contact us directly, or you can email at support@NSP Nutrition, and we'll get that information. But, you know, everyone at NSP Nutrition, including Arman and I, are all excited about the products, naturally sourced products. That's what NSP stands for. That's
Right.
why we do what we do. If we can help anybody, that's why we do this, right, Arman?
Yeah. I mean, to give them ideas about how they can get more out of their efforts, with the training, the nutrition, and Vince knew early on that if you want to maximize your efforts and your returns, that supplementation can be an aid to that. It's not the end all be all, but it can be an excellent aid, especially with a lot of short term type of strategies to make sure you're getting enough of the nutrients. And so that's what it's about. And then you want quality. So
Yeah.
that's what he did. Otherwise, he had to get it elsewhere, and he found that he buying elsewhere, you don't always get quality. And so he's like, all
Hmm.
right, let me just do my own supplement line. That's when him and two other partners got together and started the company.
Well, a lot of great products. A great show today, Armin. Thanks so much. And thank all of you for either watching or listening. And join Armin and I next week for a brand new episode of the NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP Show. Go to nspnutrition.com where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget, you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP Show at the checkout. Catch you next time.